Hello, everybody, and welcome to Agitation August. My name is Margaret Pennard. Welcome to my channel. You are on Booktube, and I am a historical fiction and fantasy author, if you don't know me, and an eclectic reader. And this is the order of the day for all of August. I'm shoving aside all the book-related things and talking about agitated reads. So here to help me is my guest today, Jenna Blum. Say hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Hi, Margaret. Hi, everybody who is watching. Thank you for joining us, agitators, resistors.
Yes. So, Jenna, can you give us a little bit of background about A Mighty Blaze and how we know each other?
I can. Well, I was just about to say that is how we know each other. So A Mighty Blaze is an organization that started during the age of COVID, when all of the in-person book tours were canceled, and me and my friend Caroline Levitt, who is also a best-selling novelist, decided that we weren't going to have it. And so we started a camera-facing channel that allowed authors to introduce their books to readers when they first came out. And quickly we grew into a team of 35 creative professional volunteers. And we are still going, introducing those new books, even as people get out and about. So you can come to the Blaze and watch your favorite authors and their new books without even having to put on your pants. So just in case that still appeals. And Margaret is an OG Blazer, and she has been running our tech and our YouTube channel since we were up and running, and also helped us put festivals online and interview historical authors and all manner of good things. And I am so happy to see you. I love Margaret. So I'm like, yay, it's old school week.
Yes, it's been a while. I usually have at least one or two events during the year where I will like coax someone from Mighty Blaze over to the YouTube channel. So delighted this is one of the opportunities. And I just want to let everyone know, before I explain the series, Jenna has a new book coming out. There is a pre-order link I'm going to drop in the chat. It's called Murder Your Darlings. And want to give us like the little synopsis / blurb while I do that in the chat?
Yes, I just shocked Margaret in the green room by telling her what it was. She's like, it sounds like a writing craft book. And I'm like, close. It's about a female writer who falls in love with a very charming, charismatic, successful male writer who may or may not be too good to be true, as lots of female writers' bodies pile up around this couple. So it's a psychological thriller. It's my first. I loved it. I cackled every day while I was writing it. So I hope you laugh on every page when you're reading it.
Yes. Excellent. I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And so, professional hats aside, what I'm doing this month for Agitation August is inviting people on, and I asked them all to bring a book that is one that got them agitated, that is one that shook them up. Yes. So, On Tyranny was Jenna's choice, one of two, and this is the one we went with. So, I actually watched the playlist of the boiled down audio version that Timothy Snyder narrates, while you have a very marked up copy of the book. Yeah. So the red pen. Yeah. And basically this book is by a professor who observes authoritarian regimes and what happens, and he's boiled it down to 20 lessons. And so you can go through and say like the very bare bones of like what happens when someone does a power grab. What can you do to retain your power, to have power stay in your community and not let it go, not let it be pried from your cold live hands. So yeah, how did you first come to the book? Like, what was the context for like the coming into your life and shaking you up?
Thank you. I have been politically active as long as I can remember. My dad was a news writer for CBS News, and if he were still alive today, he would be horrified to see what has happened to CBS. I'm sure he's spinning around somewhere out in the Atlantic. And my mom was a lifelong liberal who loved to like drink scotch and like yell at CNN because during like the 2016 elections in particular. And so I don't remember a time when I wasn't political. And so during the 2016 elections, the run up to the 2016 elections, I was online all the time posting. I'm a social media person. I love it weirdly. And so I was using that as a platform to say, hey, this is just wrong. Like the Trump regime, and I use that word advisedly, is just wrong. They're using a lot of Nazi ideology, a lot of Nazi vocabulary. And Professor Snyder put out On Tyranny, which you can see it's basically more of a pamphlet. Like it is very, very brief. It's like 83 pages. The font is huge. The book is small. So you can read it in literally an hour or two. And I remember reading it online before it was published, following him on social and scrolling through it in bed and thinking simultaneously, oh my God, we are in so much trouble. And oh my God, I'm so glad to have some practical tips in my back pocket to resist an authoritarian grab. And then, of course, we had like 4 years of normalcy from 2020, I mean, sort of normal, to 2024, where we could all like take a little rest. And now we are on a precipitous downward slide. So I find this book to be like sort of terrifying in what it has predicted, which is coming true. And also to be extra useful now, because again, it gives us those practical action steps we can take.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have another, it's like almost like a zine length. I have one person with a short story, which is like a dystopian but hopeful, and one person who chose We Should All Be Feminists. Again, like a really short, condensed version of just a really impactful message. So what I thought we could do was go with like the lessons that stood out the most to us. So call them out. I'm gonna shout out to the chat and just say hello to the folks that are here and saying, oh my goodness, Fen's on time. Hello, hello. But also point out, I'm trying to do little poll questions to get people thinking, get the gears turning. Anti-intellectualism was being talked about on Booktube earlier this spring. And so this is one of the questions I thought I would ask. Where do you see it present? Because people are talking about it on Booktube, but some other places could be possible as well. So welcome everybody. Hi. Hey, Dee Dee. Feel free to put questions in the live chat as we talk about stuff all over the place, I'm sure. I'm going to come back to people's answers at like an ending point before we end. So yes. Hey, Ellen.
Hey, Ellen. Ellen is a blazer also. She interviews debuts.
Yeah, Ahmad, if you drink enough scotch, you may yell at anything.
That is true. That is true.
Slips are important. Okay, so I'm gonna put up the graphic that you found. That was pretty cool.
Fantastic, fantastic.
All of them, but the first one that I was thinking about was make eye contact and smile at people.
Oh, smile.
So I thought of this one as like a baby step that I feel safe doing, and I don't feel safe doing a lot of the things that some of the big guns are doing, because here in Portland, as you may know, we are just like LA having 24-hour ICE headquarter protests, and people are getting smoke bombed, and it's like 2020 never stopped. It's just like all the time around the clock, and I know that I can't stand that. Like I would be shaking like a leaf in a hospital after one time. So my level of engagement is recognizing the humanity in other people and confirming that every day by looking people in the eyes, especially the large homeless population here in Portland. I think that's one of the important things about keeping humanity and not separating into an us and a them. So yeah, that was one of the ones that jumped out at me first. How does that hit you? Is that on your top 5 list?
It is. I have the top. I'm going to count how many I have. So there are 20 lessons that Dr. Snyder tells us that we can appropriate for ourselves, as many or as few as we want. I think if you did one, every day and put it on your to-do list, you would be fine. And one of the things I love about the lessons is some of them are potentially scary, like stand out. That one, like right in the middle there, stand out, like Rosa Parks, like if you're the person who is able to go to jail for your beliefs, or as Margaret said, you can be on the front lines and get smoke bombed. I myself march around quite a bit. Like I live in downtown Boston. There's a march every 2 seconds. I have a megaphone. I have a backup megaphone. I'm a chant leader. I love this, but that's me. And I march for other people and ask them to say, I ask before every march, if you don't want to march, you can't march, please send me your name and I'll put it on a t-shirt and carry you with me, because they know there are a lot of people who are like, I don't want to do that. So what you're saying about number 12, which is make eye contact and small talk, I think is one of the great action steps that people can take that doesn't entail like being on the front line and potentially going to CCOT or, being locked up in a detention center. Like I personally am too old for that. Okay. I have to have like a feather mattress on my bed. If I had to go to CCOT, I'd be dead. I'd be like, where's my dermal filler? Like it's just not a good outcome for me. But the make eye contact and small talk thing is so doable, and yet so many of us don't do it. And I know that fascism despises community. And the more plugged in you are to your local community, the more you talk with your neighbors, have Congress, daily Congress with your neighbors, the more you plug into that small daily minutia of what surrounds you, the more able you are to defy it when something is not right. Like we had ICE agents on my block in downtown Boston, and you know who knew about it first? The dog moms. Like we were all standing outside with our dogs, you know, like on the greenway in front of my house, and we're like, "Did you see that unmarked government car?" And then we all went up to the car and we're like, "Hey, who's in that car?" You know, and then like lo and behold, after a few days, the car was gone because they knew that we were like watching them. So I think that is really important and impactful.
Yeah. Yeah. Great one. Okay, I'm gonna show some of your marked up ones because you sent me pictures of the notebooks here.
My homework.
A few because I had to do this individually. It wouldn't let me download them all. So which one pops out that you want to talk about that might be on this list?
I mean, right? They all are. Like I starred some of them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them.
Okay.
Not at Bay in advance. Like I'll go with some of the quote smaller ones, like the more daily ones, like defend institutions. So that's number 2. And I wrote action item. Don't obey in advance is good, but this says like choose an institution that you care about and back that institution. And again, I feel like this is something you can do from your bed, from your couch. You can do it if you're not paying for commercial-less Netflix. You can do it during commercials on Netflix or on Hulu. But, you know, just even like once a day, put it on your to-do list and like back something you care about. The ACLU, the National Park Service. If you're like me, you have an app called 5 Calls that allows you to call your representatives in your state or another state or nationally about some cause that you care about. And they not only give you the phone number, they literally link you with that office and give you a script. So all you have to do is be like, whoop, hit a button in the app. It like connects you with a senator or congressperson's office and you read the script. Then you're like, I did my thing for the day. Like I did a patriotic thing. So I feel like picking one thing that you really care about and then doing that thing daily, like you brush your teeth, it's really doable and important.
Yeah. Yeah. Habit stacking. It works.
Habit stacking. Yeah. Well, then do a streak. Oh my God. There should be an app for like with a streak, a patriot streak, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not developers, but we probably know developers.
Well, all y'all developers who are watching this on YouTube, please help us make a Patriot Streak app. That would be amazing. It's really a good idea.
So it's not an institution specifically, but in terms of picking an issue and going with it, I would say I've got something this year that's called Truth and Reconciliation for the Climate, where I was trying to do a live stream each month that was dedicated to books I'm reading for climate change, climate crisis, and how to deal with it. And it's really making me focus on the issue and see how it relates to everything. And I hope it's getting more of the word out because I know some people in my community on Booktube see those and go, oh no, I'm not going to watch that. And that's fine. But some may also go, oh, well, why is this that important that she's doing something every month? Like, okay, maybe I'll listen, give it a chance. And so that's my small thing. That's my small thing.
Thank you for doing that. Not so small. Everybody has something. If you're not into the climate, then you can do something again with like ACLU or pollinators or I don't know, food for everybody or going to an ICE detention center and sitting there or doing that. We were doing like Tesla takedowns here in Boston for a while every Saturday. That was super fun.
Yeah, yeah. One of the folks that comes by pretty regularly, Jocelyn, she was talking about pollinators on a previous climate talk, and so she was all up about that. So that was perfect. So she had her name on your T-shirt at the first Pussy Hat protest. So awesome.
Yep, prime spot on my butt, as one does.
So I jumped in and we did our first lesson of the 20, but I forgot to highlight the elements. So if you're curious about what other things we're doing for Agitation August, let me just direct you down to the description. I've got a blog post to explain the motivation and sort of galvanizing impulse. I've got a calendar to show everyone who's coming on the channel. I've got bingo cards. So everyone is going to highlight a word. And if you get that word on your card and you get 4 in a row, you win a bingo. send that to me, you might get a book gift card. So I just wanted to make it fun to play. And there's the playlist. So you can see everything in the playlist so that it's easy to access. So
that's so great you're doing this, Margaret. Honestly, I feel like y'all can take a clue from Margaret here. Like what she's doing is exactly what that step is. Choose something and do it. And she's doing agitation. So, right? Yeah, you are doing it. Yep.
Okay, what's another one that I can pop up here? So I had do not obey in advance on my list, which is number one.
Number one.
Here we go. So I'm going to use your picture. Is that up on my
I can't even read my own handwriting, but I think I said like looking at you.
Go Harvard.
Yeah, go Harvard, Columbia. Oh, and the Washington Post, who obeyed in advance because of Bezos. And then Columbia buckled. A lot of universities, a lot of journalists, a lot of bastions of journalism.
Law firms.
But not Harvard. So I think, we can all look to Harvard for an example. I wonder like how the do not obey in advance plays out for you in your own life, Margaret. Like I'm really curious about this. I'm gonna have some beer while you answer this question.
Do not obey in advance. To me, this is like adopting a defeatist attitude. So immediately following November's election, I think I sort of fell into that trap. I fell into that pothole and was like, oh my God, we're so cooked, to use the common parlance of our times. And I just felt like, okay, well, if we have no progress on climate in the next 4 years, we are like literally cooked. We're going to boil in our own juices. Like, what can we do? And then I took some months and I pulled myself out of the puddle. And I think so I didn't read this until this year. I didn't read it back in 2017 or 2014 when it came out. So it's the playlist on YouTube that I read like years after it came out. And so when I saw this and thought about it, I was like, okay, so this is, don't admit that you've lost before you've tried. And
nice.
Even if you lose a battle, like keep fighting. So that's the kind of fighting spirit that I'm trying to like hold on to. And as I was telling you just before we went live, like one of the most difficult things to not make a visual for, but like explain to people is that there's this faith thing that you can keep going as long as you have faith, but like that's not usually a thing that I have. So like how do I make that happen in this case? So yeah. Is there a way that this manifests for you when you're trying to organize your political activity or thinking about political allies or how to talk to other folks about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love what you said about just not saying, okay, we're just screwed and we're going to go under now. I think that's really important. Like you never are really, as long as you have some hope and you're doing some small thing. For me, I mean, if I ever had a tattoo, it would be something that Barack Obama said during that 2016 Democratic convention. He said, look, people, we don't look to be ruled. And I thought, that's right. Americans do not look to be ruled. We do not want a king. And we had all the No Kings protests. I loved that idea. And living in Massachusetts, if you go out to Concord, Lexington, the sort of historic corridor along which Paul Revere rode, they have all these signs that say no kings then, no kings now, or like it's up to us now to repel the tyranny. They're very, very Massachusetts specific signs.
Yeah.
I think for me, not obeying in advance, I don't like obeying in general. I mean, that's as a personality type. Like I am Gretchen Rubin's rebel, like the rarest personality type. Somebody's like, you have to do this. And like, great, I'm not actually doing that. Yeah. So it's kind of a no-brainer in some ways. But I think not obeying in advance for most people across the board, I think just means like really question what the people in charge are telling you to do and run it past your own value system. And not obeying in advance in Dr. Snyder's On Tyranny means don't roll over before they've even told you to roll over in the hopes that they will then be nice to you. Bullies are never going to be nice to you. Bullies are never going to love you. If you roll over, they'll be like, that's nice, doggy. And then they will kick your rump so hard. Do not do it. So if something sits poorly with you that somebody wants you to do, that somebody in charge wants you to do, and you do not want to, find some little way to go around that thing. That's what I would say.
Did you see Kamala Harris on the Colbert?
No. Oh. I'm saying Kamala and Colbert in the same sentence. I'm like, my heart.
Yeah. She was on 2 or 3 nights ago, and he asked her what she was surprised about, and she said, well, I said that all this stuff was going to happen, so none of the stuff that he's done has surprised me, but what has surprised me is the capitulation. And I was like, oh, good word. Yeah, the rolling over, the obeying in advance. You know, when I think about all the people who were fired and the federal workers who were like leaving the USIP and AID, and they were just told to march, and then there were rent-a-cops outside saying you can't come in, and like Congress people not going in because the rent-a-cop told them not to. I'm just like, where is your backbone? You know, the federal workers have it, the Congress people don't.
Yeah.
Come on.
You know who has it? Democratic Texans, like the Texas Democrats who broke quorum and are like fleeing all over the country and hiding in various states so that they can't gerrymander Texas, which is such an obvious power grab. I am with Kamala. I always have been with Kamala, but I'm not surprised by anything. I should let your audience know that I have a background in Holocaust studies. My first novel was about the rise of fascism in Nazi Germany. So I know all these markers super well, which is why I was so alarmed in 2016. And like Kamala, I am not surprised at all. I will say that when you're plugged into resistance communities, whether it's online or in person, like you do see a lot of like ordinary Americans not capitulating. And I feel like that is super important. Like every time something bad happens, people are out in the streets, and there are movements like 50501, who you guys should all follow on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, ubiquitous, 5051, and Indivisible. They will put together protests and publicize them all the time. And there are a lot of people out there, and you know what? The media is not covering them, which leads me to...
But they are public. They are public.
Yeah.
So if I can just about the Indivisible comment. So they've been putting on trainings about like how do we grow our network and strengthen our connections so that we have the power to make this succeed, right? Because what they said is a lot of people are doing a lot of things, but we're not coordinating it. Some people are saying, why don't we just do a general strike? You know, we have the power, we have the numbers. And someone on the last training was like, you know, what that needs is infrastructure in place so that we can continue it and hold that leverage over people to get the result that we want. Right now, we don't have that. We need to practice. We need to have phone numbers. We need to be ready. And so I was like, yes, that's exactly what I am happy to hear people organizing around. So yeah, that made me happy.
Agree. And I think Indivisible is great. And there's also an organization I love called Red, Wine, and Blue that does a lot of YouTube videos. We'll talk about training and putting people together. I think we just have it's heartening. We have so many people who want to do something. And we also have such a large country that is so spread out. So it's good that there are these groups that are trying to create nuclei that people can converge around. But number 11 in this, which I don't even know if I had made a graphic for, but it's investigate. And that I had written verify information and share is basically what number 11 says. That instead of just being online and saying like, oh, I see it online, therefore it must be true. I'm going down the rabbit hole. I'm going into a conspiracy theory, right or left, to really take some time and think about which journalists you think are reputable. Verify your sources, verify their sources, and then not only share that information with your following or your neighbors or your children or whoever you have in your sphere, but also call out misinformation, because we are flooded every single day deliberately by this administration with a shit show of untruth and conspiracies that are so blatant that they are like stun guns. Like they're trying to stun gun us with stupidity every day. And we know this by now. So I think it is still okay, forgive my language, but it's okay to get up there and say, that's actually not true. It's actually not true that Trump had a lot of like little girls at Mar-a-Lago because he was trying to protect them from Jeffrey Epstein. That's actually not true. So I think it's okay to share your information as long as it's from valid sources, and really like back up your journalists right now. If you find journalists who you feel are reputable and whose sources are verified, like if you have a Substack, if you have any sort of social platform, even in an email, like whatever it is you can do, like give them a bump.
Yeah. When you're mentioning fact checking, it made me think we had like a tussle, if you will, about fact checking. And I think we've kind of lost there's no checking that wave. Like, as you said, it's just like,
Mhm.
what do they call it? Flood the zone. It's a flood.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, one will show up and like stop. The latest one was the Treasury. Is it Treasury? No, it's the Fed chairman. And did you see that clip? The Fed chairman who Trump wants to fire, and he took him to show the remodeling that he's done, which Trump has tried to turn into a waste of funds. And he's like, nope, that's not how much it costs. Nope, that wasn't there. Nope, that was already there. And like he doing it during the press conference. And I was like, thank you,
I
Powell.
love that. I do.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love when people are on doing live interviews on TV and the journalists are like, that's not actually a thing though. That's not actually a thing though. But I mean, I feel like with the Trump administration, it's like Seth Meyers' Weekend Update on SNL, where like the sort of like Trump mouthpieces will come on and be like, "Whoa, the country is like great again, and we don't have concentration camps, and everybody is a criminal and everything." And the journalists are like, "That's actually no, drunk uncle. That's actually not a thing." No. So I think we all have to be Seth Meyers in this moment and be like, "No, drunk uncle, that's not a thing." And I would love to see from the chat in this interview, once we're off the air, like who people follow as reputable journalists at this point, because I'm always trying to collect sources. I read religiously every single day. I read Heather Cox Richardson, who then collates her sources. Like she does a kind of nightly newscast and puts it in historical context. She's a historian, a scholar, and she's been collating the nightly news in this Substack called Letters from an American since 2020. And she has led me to a lot of sources in a time when the media outlets that I used to love are eroding. And so she says that the small journalists and the smaller platforms are now going to replace the larger platforms, just like what happened in the 1890s when there was a push toward one-party government in this country. So this has happened before, not so direly, but I would love to know, like, who are you reading and who do you trust to get your information from?
So I'm just popping up Heather Cox Richardson. I just saw a short clip of hers before we were coming on. So yeah, I don't get hers all the time, but who I do almost daily is MSW Media, which is Mueller, she wrote. It's Allison Gill and Dana I can't remember her last name, but it's two folks, and they're veterans, and they are not, I'm trying to think, lawyers, journalists. I'm trying to think what their actual jobs are, but they put together a podcast every weekday, and it's about news stories, the latest, and it's about good news, and it's about like community news, and an interview, and it's just enough. It's like less than an hour, and then that's all I want for the day.
Yeah.
But they're great. Like they've got humor, and they've got outrage, and they've got pathos. So I really like Allison and Dana. So they're on my list. It used to be Crooked, but those guys are kind of getting more comedy and too long on stuff. So I'll watch Tommy Vitor or like the interviews with the Pod Save the World, but not so much all the other stuff, or Hysteria, because that's still a good show for like the women's issues side.
I love these
too. Joyce Vance.
Joyce Vance is great. Yeah, like rudely looking away from you while you're talking, Margaret, because I'm looking.
Yeah. Take away. Give us the deets.
I will read Anne Applebaum whenever she puts something out. Anne of the Atlantic, she had something out today. I'm looking for this one. Katie Couric, honestly, has been amazing. She has her own YouTube channel now, and she has been interviewing people.
It's like where the cool kids are, Jenna.
I mean, I know. I mean, everybody has a Substack right now, though, too. I think when Elon Musk blew up Twitter and made it into X, like all the cool kids went to Substack, and everybody's posting the stuff on Substack that they would have posted on Twitter. I actually follow Jim Acosta, and Jim Acosta does like 50 interviews a day. I'm like, Jim, that's enough. Like that's too many. But he's great, So yes, I will put more in the chat. In retrospect, I don't want to take away from our conversation and go down my Substack rabbit hole. But I think that not only looking at your own sources, but then who those sources follow helps you build a kind of a library of information that you could then share with other people.
Right. And that's why Crooked Media is a good family, because they also have, so they've expanded their shows, right? So they had Pod Save the World, Pod Save America, hysteria. Then they had Pod Save the UK. So then there's British politics, which are also imploding. Then they've got strict scrutiny, which is lawyers and federal judge clerks. I know nothing about the judiciary branch. So like all their stuff is new to me, and it's fascinating, but also horrifying. So they're keeping abreast of all the Supreme Court shenanigans and decisions and how it'll affect and who's fighting and who's suing and all this stuff, which is really important because it's like the one branch. Well, we thought it might have a chance, but yeah, we need to do a lot of stuff on a lot of branches. But yeah, so strict scrutiny on cricket is really good as well. But yeah. Let's see. I've got, since I did say about the bingo and the word, how about now for folks watching, if you've got your bingo card, which I can share, you can tell us what your word is, and I'll show people the bingo cards and where they might want to find one.
That's so fun. We have anti-tyranny bingo cards, resistance bingo.
I might minimize it. Hold on. There we go. Now it's up. Now it'll find it to share. Share screen. Window. Boop. Okay. So I made these by hand. I couldn't find like a specific thing to make it automated for me. So I just made bingo cards with everyone's special word. This is just a word that people thought was cool, sounds nice, think it's fun. And this is because people are smart, and we are not scared of admitting we're smart and learning new words. So, Jenna, what was your word? Can you see it? Is it one of these?
I know what my word is. And in fact, if my friend Mark is watching this, he will know. He's like poking himself in the eye right now because he's always making fun of me for overusing this word, which is titrate.
Yes, I had a friend who was specifically calling out, I love all the science words on here. And I was like, well, science or metaphors. A lot of us language people like to use science words as metaphors. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, these are all my words. Did I suggest all these words? No, not like halcyon. If I had a daughter, I would have named her Halcyon. Vicissitudes is one of my favorites. Nefarious. Louche is like such a great word. Ubiquitous. Yeah. These are great. These are great words.
So just encouraging people to have fun with language and encourage, the modeling of learning and being intellectual and not being scared to admit it.
So we love to be intellectual. Like we like to wear glasses around here. Everybody has glasses. We all have glasses here.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. Glasses on, people.
Let's see. I have a third one which I can share. A third lesson from Professor Snyder is take responsibility for the face of the world.
Oh yeah, I love that one. That's a good one.
To these back. So what does that mean exactly? What that meant to me and why it called out to me was I have often struggled with like adulting and having responsibilities in terms of admitting that the buck stops with me and there isn't a higher power to appeal to. And so I feel like in the past few years since the pandemic, I think that a lot of the learning I've been doing internally is about, okay, what am I going to take responsibility for? What is mine to pass on or to stop or to advocate? And so being the face of the world is like showing other people you do have beliefs. Like you aren't just, oh yeah, whatever, I just go along with anything. I'm neutral. Or, like some people say book talkers are just doing the latest thing and not saying that they have any politics so that they can get the most money from the most advertisers and the most audience. Like, no, you have to be for something. So yeah. Does that accord with your view, or like how did that one hit you?
Yeah, I love Be the Face of the World. It reminds me of Captain Von Trapp coming home and the Nazi flag is hanging up in front of his house and he takes it and he rips it, which is now this great gif.
Yeah,
I like to send way too indiscriminately to people. I think Be the Face of the World. Yeah, it is kind of like stand up, which is another, or stand out, which is another one of the lessons or the tools that you can use. Be the face of the world means choose a symbol or like find a symbol. Or if you see a symbol that is evil, like a swastika, get rid of it and show people that you're getting rid of it and saying, no, this is not my symbol. I think about the quote rainbow washing that a lot of corporations did and continue to do now, removing DEI. The government, of course, has removed DEI from everything and has washed away half our history with women and Black people, people of color, veterans, like from our websites, our government websites, and so on. So they're doing absolutely the wrong thing. But I think if you see somebody remove a rainbow, then like wear a rainbow, you know, or I think about this in terms of our own flag, which I happen to love. I mean, I love the American flag. I've always loved it. And now when you see a house with a flag, you're like, are you a Trump person? Are you MAGA? And that pisses me off because I'm like, it is all of our flags. Like, I am keeping that flag. I'm also keeping the Don't Tread on Me flag. Like, I'm keeping all these flags because these are the original American flags. So for me,
I agree to rip apart though.
What's that?
150 years ago. That one deserves to die.
Which one?
The Confederate flag. That's one.
Confederate flag is, Confederate flag is different. If my neighbors were, you know, if there were a Confederate flag somewhere, it's hard. You can't go on like somebody's personal property and rip stuff down. But if there's something public, I'd be like, I remove this. And it's tricky because I live in an apartment building and I have like the front facing downstairs window. I don't want to speak for all of my neighbors, but you bet, like when there's an election, I put up my Kamala sign, I put up my Biden sign, I put up my whatever sign. I have a Trump neighbor who lives in the basement. I'm like, suck it. You can put something in your own window. But like, I feel like it just means try to do something that visibly shows your belief and helps other people who might be feeling scared congregate to you. So for me, it's less of an act of defiance than it is about holding up a torch so that people feel a little bit safer in the world. And my one final anecdote about this is during the 2020 elections, I was in rural Minnesota in the summer where my mom's family is from, and I was in a family house. And there were no Biden signs in the town at all. It went Trump for like the second election in a row. And I was so distressed and so sad. And then this one tiny Biden sign, like this big, was up in somebody's yard down the street. And I was like, how brave those people are. It was a tiny community. So I was like, everybody knows who those people are. They could actually be in like physical danger. So I made cookies and bought them down the street. And I was like, hello, I really appreciate that you put this Biden sign up. I appreciate you. Like, I don't live here full time and I'm leaving in a few days. I just want you to know I see you. And they were really scared. Like, they're like, oh, okay. You know, like or something. Yeah. But like, I think it's important. Like, those people emboldened me and made me feel like not all hope was lost, you know? So I think that's what that means, being the face of the world, is like, how can you make your beliefs visible in a way that comforts somebody else?
Yeah. What do you think about like reclaiming things that have come to have other meanings? I feel like a lot of that initial energy, like for instance, the safety pin, I don't remember when that happened, but it was about "you're safe with me." It was supposed to be a message like on the DL to people who were LGBTQ or other diverse marginalized groups, to say like, I have liberal political opinions. I'm not going to call the police on you or, you know, put you in danger. But then it became is this just a performative symbol? And is everyone doing this to fit in? And like, I wish there was a way to prevent that sort of cynicism from happening, or to like reclaim it, or I don't know, invest it with more sincerity as a symbol. Maybe those are two or things are always in tension. But what do you think?
I love that question. I just remember the safety pins. I used to wear them like to the gym. Like, you are safe with me, even though I'm like the size of a twig and probably can't protect anybody, but I would try. I wonder what happened to my safety pins. I think that I think there are two tides here. And one is a tide of people genuinely wanting to do the right thing. And then people taking pot shots at those people for doing it and going, oh, you're just a poser, or you're just a virtue signal, or you're just a provocateur, like you're just doing it for the likes or for the attention. Honestly, you can't control what other people say or what other people think. If you believe something, wear the thing. There's always somebody who's going to hate on you. There's always somebody who's going to say you're insincere or you suck or whatever. Like, we used to get this on the Blades all the time. Like, I'm so used to people being like, oh, you guys suck because X, Y, and Z. I'm like, thank you. Because if you're doing something that's visible enough for other people to hate on you, then you know your message is getting out there. So I think if you believe in the thing, wear the thing. Who cares what other people say?
Yeah. I guess I just mean, does it water down the message for the group that you're trying to communicate to in terms of the audience? And it could, and then you might need to move on to something else, but yeah.
Yeah, there are always trends. I guess, I mean, you can't help that either, right? Like you can't help the people who hate on you, and you also can't help the people, you can't change the people you're trying to help. What you can do is something that is well intentioned.
Right.
And then, you know, if somebody totally subverts it, then
Yeah.
there's, you know, then you move on to the next thing. But yeah, I would keep doing the thing.
Matt said Status Coup does some great on the ground investigative work. So another trusted journalism source, small but tenacious. I like that. We got David Novak. Hello. Fascinating, but also horrifying. A lot of that going around. Indeed. Indeed. Ellen saying, sad that MSM, I'm not sure which MSM is, allows 47 to spew lies on live TV. Yeah, the statistics thing about job numbers. It's really okay. So one of the folks that's coming on the channel later in the month, Ven, chose 1984, and I hadn't read it before. So I chose to go with the graphic novel version, and it was scary. He did not warn me that it was scary. And it was like half of it was like torture. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, just like straight up gaslighting, and it feels very real. It feels very real. We'll say that. Oh, okay. See you later, Mad. Safety pins were similar to the paper clips worn by Dutch citizens to show Jewish people that they were allies during World War II.
Right.
There we go.
Now, I think about like if the Nazis had social media, there would have been some bots in there saying safety pins are just for people who are showing off, right? It's kind of like in the initial days after the inauguration when there were protests, like 50501, 5051 started organizing protests, and they were a brand new group. They had 1,000 members. And I would see them on Instagram and say, okay, they're trying to organize. I'm going to this protest. And then there was like a counter rumor on social media saying, don't go. It's a trap. Nobody knows who this group is. They're not verified, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is just a scare tactic by bots. Like, I know it is. And it was. It turned out to be a scare tactic. Wow. So I feel like if you're hearing like, oh, safety pins are stupid now, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, big bangs are stupid now. Whatever. You know, it's like you just have to do the thing that you.
Oh, Big Bang. I thought you meant like scientific theory, and I went, wait, what?
Oh no, I was in like the big cowcatcher hair, you know, yeah.
The trend. Gotcha.
Yeah, Big Bang's also bad. We don't want those either. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, mainstream media, we get that. Thank you. Ven said, sorry for not warning. Yeah, disturbs Ven all the way over in the UK as well. Yeah.
Agree. It's terrifying.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that was my third. Do you have a third one you want to prop up and talk about?
I do, and I have like a final one also, but I'll do the third one.
Plenty of time for two more.
Okay, two more. All right, I'm kind of looking through them again. Like, forgive me for like looking down. I think like on Orwell makes a good segue to be kind to our language, which is number 9. Okay. And what I would say is like, I just did a little revision and fixed it for Timothy Snyder because I'm like that. But my thing is defend our language, because the Trump administration, the Trump regime, and again, I use that word advisedly, distorts so much language and uses language used by the Nazi regime, by Joseph Goebbels, that was meant to marginalize other people. They talk about the radical left, the woke left radicals, the extremists, and so on. Like, this is actually, listen for dangerous words, number 17. One of the ways that the government instills fear in the people so that they can take control. So being kind to our language essentially means like not allowing the doublespeak that's in 1984, not allowing the government to say black is white and white is black, and not and really calling it out, so that like in 2015, when Trump was running for office, I saw him using the words from the Goebbels playbook to say like, oh, Muslims were behind 9/11 and the Muslims in New Jersey were rejoicing when the towers fell and they're all a bunch of vermin. And I was like, ding, 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 ding. I'm sorry, did you just say vermin? Like, you just called people vermin. That is like from the Nazi playbook right there. And I went online and I was like, guys, here is the actual text from Joseph Goebbels saying that people are vermin. The Jews are vermin. They should all be exterminated. They said it over and over and over, and people started to believe it. And now Trump is using the same language, and they continue to do that, talking about people of color as being not worthy, as being like worthy of, they're all criminals, they're a bad element, they're extremists, they're radicalized, they're this, they're that. I think it's really, really important to pay attention to how this regime uses language and to say, hey, that's not right. It's othering other people. It's marginalizing other people. And the more they repeat this, the more people who are listening to them believe that it's true. And it's not true. We're all people. So that to me is really important. Apparently the cure for this, according to Dr. Snyder, is to read books and get the F offline. So with the exception of YouTube and Margaret's channel in particular, I think it's really important to read books because it helps build a construct outside of the very narrow, deep channels that we are all in on social media, the outside of our own prefabricated contexts and contracts, social contracts. Books allow imaginative empathy, and they're also going to help us exercise our muscles of long-term concentration, which a lot of social and being online erodes. We need all these skills.
Which is another read along I'm participating in. So Jenny Odell's book, How to Do Nothing, is about recultivating. The chapter we just read together was about cultivating your attention and training it instead of letting people capture it, because that's what all big tech is doing. But I was gonna, so I had a question about spirit stuff, but the other question I had before was going to be, shoot, I had it. Oh, it's gone. It's gone. Okay. Well, wait.
Did I stun you into submission? If that's probably what it was.
No. It wasn't about newspeak. It wasn't about off of language. Oh, irony. Like, what do we do with the loss of this tool? I feel like they are so far beyond any of the, comedy that we've used in the past and juxtaposition that we could use, because they're off the charts. So I don't think Professor Snyder had any, artistic say in this in his historical context discussions. But what do you think is our comeback to that? Is our antidote to having our irony tool stolen? Because it's like one of the things that I think is the most powerful, is showing people like, no, this person of color is not an illegal immigrant. They are in fact a First Nations individual, and we're here before you are. Like this stuff that would be funny in another context, but is deadly and harmful. It's like, how do we get through? How do we make that count like it used to?
South Park.
Yeah, but that satire is so far out of my comfort zone. Like I could laugh at it, but I'm like, I would never think of going that far with anything.
Oh, you mean how do we manufacture it ourselves as opposed to simply sharing it, right? Like how do you I don't know. I used to use humor as a tool of disadministration, but I can't anymore because they're not funny. So I think you're right. That's not a tool in my toolbox, but there are a lot of people who are satirizing. And I think one thing a narcissist really, really, really hates is to be laughed at. Really hates. So there is a chapter on Tyranny that is about this, that if we can take a page from the Eastern European and Ukrainian playbooks in particular, like they were using sort of irony and humor to take down communist and fascist and autocratic leaders, and to really like poke pins in them and make fun of them in that way. And I think that that's something that we could really continue. Not everybody has that ability to satirize or to have that particular kind of humor, but if you do have it, you should totally use it, I think. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So last call for questions. I'm going to go over some of the answers to my poll question that I popped up at the beginning. So we are talking about anti-intellectualism. Where do you see it present in the world? Mad said anti-intellectualism is rife in so many areas, especially in the upper echelons of government and the media. Not quite as bad here in Canada, but still bad. Yeah. I wonder about Canada, because I think there was a small thing in the election and some of like the political processes that were upsetting some of the Canadians a few months ago, but it's like this small business compared to the Google and the Facebook of the UK and the US, of like shenanigans, for lack of a stronger word, of bad behavior. So yeah. Ellen said, anti-intellectualism exists in this administration's push to cut research funding and in the effort to interfere with universities' admissions processes. Yeah,
For sure. For sure.
that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Book banning.
Yeah.
The
Florida.
less information we have, the stupider we are. The stupider we are, the more easily we are controlled. I think I remember this from, like, I don't know when it was early on. It was pre-Trump, if anybody can imagine such a time. Rick Scott, the senator from Wisconsin, was talking a lot of smack about people who were going to college and how dangerous the college education was, and how it was like the colleges were stuffed full of liberals and whatever. And I remember thinking two things simultaneously, like, this guy is a tool, because isn't part of the American dream being educated? You think about Abe Lincoln getting up in his cabin and walking 6 miles uphill both ways in the snow with no shoes, blah, 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 just to go to the room schoolhouse to learn. Like, learning is the key to progress. But also I remember thinking, we're in so much trouble. And that was like way back in the day. That sort of like, we're stupid and we're proud. It's like so dumb. It's just so dumb. But then these are the people who are in charge. So it's a problem.
Yeah.
Stupid and proud, bad. Smart and proud, good.
Yeah. So one of the things I was asking outside of Agitation August, but I will ask this in this conversation because I think it's a hard question, is, so some people have fallen out of the bubble finally, whether it's for the Epstein scandal or something else, but like, recently. So having been a Trumper for a decade, have recently been like, oh, wow, this was the straw. And I'm like, okay. So, and then I saw either a TikTok or something online that was someone responding to that. Like they had stitched someone saying, oh, this is it. I'm not going to vote for him next time, or whatever it was.
Right? Oh my God. No, because we don't have elections. So enjoy that. But okay.
Right. Whatever the comeback was. And she was like, yeah, I don't trust you. Like, good for you. You grew a spine or grew a brain or whatever. But like, I don't trust you now. And there's like a big division between people. I'm reading a book about trust right now, and I think it's like a big thing. It's going to be like key in the future of like, how do we knit our society back together? Because you and me, we have like a fundamental understanding of which way the wind is blowing, and people who have lived in a different world and are slowly coming out and like undoing the brainwashing. Like when you come out of a cult, how do you welcome them back? How do you reestablish bonds of trust? Have you thought about that before?
Question. No, I mean, I think I had not thought about not trusting those people who had been brainwashed. But I think the way to welcome people out of a cult is to welcome people out of the cult and say, thank God. And you must feel really awful. Like, I think, like, imagine if all of a sudden we woke up in Trump world and we're like, oh my God, this makes total sense. And actually Trump is right. And he's the king and he's anointed by God. And we were wrong all along. And this is the way. And it was. Like, imagine if like that were the opposite. Like, I would not want those people to then be like, all right, you elitist liberal woke tards, like, we don't trust you, but come on in. I would want people to, and I do think about people getting out of cults or being, having their debriefs after wartime trauma. Like, people who have been MAGA and are no longer MAGA have been through a trauma. So I think the key is to actually be compassionate. And the only way to trust people is to trust people and to say, okay, like, what was this like for you? I would get curious about it, actually. Like, I think that curiosity leads to trust, because the more you learn about the other person, instead of making assumptions like, you were MAGA, so you must be stupid and bad, to ask, like, how did you get pulled in? How did you get pulled out? Like, what are our commonalities? What will you do now? How can I help you feel comfortable now? Like, those are maybe some good questions to think about.
That's good. That's helpful. I've started going to, I think it's only quarterly. There's a couple of different efforts. I'm doing resilience, like potlucks with folks and activities and meetups. but also going to a local bookstore that's hosting a writers union that's hosting like trainings and activism stuff. And there's a gal there who is speaking the last couple times about how she has a neighbor who she helped with her, dementia mother situation, all this kind of stuff. And, they were on different sides of the aisle for a long time, but then they got a Trump sign. And she's like, are you kidding me? Like, no, we're done. Like, the friendship is over, because if you can't see that this is not a political choice, this is a denying humanity choice, then like, I'm not helping you anymore. And like some people, and I could see it in several communities who have had to do the lion's share of the educating, Black women, for example, that are just like, no, we're done. Like, this is not my responsibility. This is not my job to educate y'all. And I feel like there is validity in that. So like, there has to be some of this, and how
Totally.
to repair those bonds.
Totally. I would say don't make the tired people do it. Like, you've had people on the front lines, like Black women, who are just like, oh, fuck this. If we couldn't get Kamala in, then like, fuck all y'all's. Like, we're going to go over here and do our own thing, but you are all on your own. Like, I do not blame those women. I've talked to some of those women. I wouldn't take an emergency room surgeon or like an emergency room specialist who had been working in the ER for 20 years and then be like, go be in charge of like this trauma group that's coming, off this battlefield. Like, there are always people who are in a position that has been a little gentler and a little kinder to them, who can say, okay, former MAGA cult person, why don't you come and sit over here by me? And we don't even have to talk about it right away. Let's just have like a hamburger together or something. And then, but like, let's build some bonds. That's how you start rebuilding. I think it doesn't happen overnight. Trust doesn't happen overnight. Debriefing doesn't happen overnight. So some patience, some curiosity, some kindness, some compassion. I myself, the MAGA people I know, even in my family, I don't have it in my immediate family, but in my cousin, family, and like people I love who are my blood, who are MAGA, if they were suddenly like, oh my God, I was wrong, I wouldn't be like, you sure were, you asshole. I'd be like, oh my God, thank God. Now let's just watch White Lotus and have a beer. And then we'll talk about this a little bit down the road. But I would thank God for every soul saved.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone else I was talking with this about, we were talking about not ever feeling comfortable with the prodigal son parable. Like the prodigal son comes back as a Catholic, learning that the big feast was given for the son who sinned and did all the shit and spent his father's money and then came back and repented, while the one who stayed home and did all the work doesn't get anything. And you're kind of like, I don't like the tone of this story. That's the right. Usually in that position, you feel shorted. And I there's a lot of pieces like that where I will feel resentment, and someone on Booktube, Gwenna, blew my mind the other day, because in a live stream, she said, if you're feeling resentment for something, it's because you have an unmet need. And I was like, okay, Dr. Gwenna, like, I'm going to have to sit with that one. But yeah, there's a lot of internal work to be done in order to community work. And I will just say, I'm working on both.
I get it. I respect everything you're doing. I mean, I have a question about this. Like, I kind of feel like people who buy into the MAGA ideology in some way are fearful that somebody is coming to take away what they have, or are fearful that like there's something in a person's psyche that makes them gravitate to an autocrat who says, I will keep you safe. You just have to believe in me and trade away all your liberties. And people are willing to do that. Like, I feel like they have a lot of anger. Like, people have anger, they have rage, they have some sort of like painful psychological deficit that is soothed by the sort of big daddy, fat walrus thing that Trump projects, whatever. I mean, but I think that like that in itself, like if somebody came out of that mindset, that means that they will be better off. So I think the prodigal son, like if the prodigal son is out there doing a lot of shit, the prodigal son's in a lot of pain in the first place. That's what I kind of meant to say. Like, I think people who do a lot of shit are in a world of hurt. So if they're coming toward you, it means like they're ashamed. Like, why rub salt in that wound? Like, it would be terrible to find out everything you believed in was a piece of shit. Like, just set up a table,
Yeah. So, the moment to gloat for the FAFO was funny, and then we can let it go and move on and start to, nurse the bonds again. Yeah. Oh, I just saw that JD came in. Eva came in. Welcome, welcome. I'm sorry, JD. You got COVID. Yeah. Coming back from that is hard for sure. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's see. People are complicit and cool with things happening. Yeah.
Oh
No
yeah, I do not say.
Crazy.
No, if somebody is still MAGA, they don't have a place at my table. Yes, agree. No, no. It's like, hello, Hitler supporters. No.
Yeah. Eva says, I had content created about me. Like, she cut me off because I support President Trump. And then 5 years later, they never post anything political and took their flags down. No post about me, though. Oh, so it's I've retrenched. I'm not going to share publicly my journey back from, the dark side. Okay. JD says, I have an entire chunk of family in Texas. Some of us do. DEI is wrong, said by people who conveniently omit their half Latino. Yeah, it's so I never studied psychology. I was doing so many different things in college. I never had a psych class, and like learning about denial this way is wild. But yeah, I'm reading lots of books about denial now. Yeah, people who stop posting because it's cost them something. Yeah, well, that's one way to learn.
I'm glad, actually. Like, I'm glad that it cost them something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, as nice as I just made myself sound talking about the people who escaped the cult and like welcoming them in, like the people who are still in the cult, if they're losing things because of it, I feel fine about that. I really do. Like, you choose evil, you get evil, you reap what you sow. But, you know, if you're willing to walk away from that, then that should be rewarded, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So my final question was about spirit in terms of like, what's another word? I don't mean spiritual. I mean like the spirit of the movement. What's your best take, not from Professor Snyder necessarily, but your best take for creating a sense of community that helps us to keep going and keep fighting and resisting? Cheerleading moment.
Well, it's a lot of pressure. I guess, I mean, because there is a great lesson in On Tyranny. The last one is like one line, and it's be as courageous as you can. And I really loved that because I think that varies from day to day. I think spirit, our own personal individual spirit level varies from day to day. Some days I have gas in the tank to be all feisty about this stuff. And some days I think I'm just one person. All of this is bigger than I am. I've been so noisy for years. I don't know if it has made any difference, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I think, oh boy, community. I think it starts with your own spirit and kind of tending your own spirit and acting as if. Like, there are days when I just feel totally overwhelmed by all of this and want to ostrich out. And in those days, I think, well, it's a to-do list thing. Like, you don't necessarily want to walk the dog when it's raining either, or brush your teeth, or do this or that, but like, or pay taxes. Like, all of this is adulting stuff. Part of being in a participating democracy is adulting stuff. So like, go Substack something, go like something somebody else wrote, go do some tiny thing. And then I know that I've done the right thing when I go to sleep at night. And that's the way I tend that tiny pilot light of spirit. And I think as far as community goes, I think whatever your spirit moves you to do, to reach out to other people, it doesn't have to be something you do all the time, but if you do some small thing consistently, even again, as you were saying before, make eye contact with your neighbors and say good morning, like just those small building things that you can do instead of tearing down, which is what the regime is doing right now. Anything you can do, any little thing to build up. You know, the pollinators, your neighbors, the 5 calls, the marches, post something true, call out something false. Like, all of that feeds your little pilot light, and it means you're part of a community, whether you see the results or not.
Yeah, I like that. I'm hanging on to my online community, of which Mighty Blaze is one part, and also my in real life community, which takes which takes a different kind of work and is much more rusty, but like just as necessary. So I hope y'all are joining me in both of those, because I know you through online stuff, but I also hope people are having in real life, next door, food on the plate, like literal in-person good experiences, because that's, I think, the fuel we need.
It is. That's hard. The in-person stuff is hard now for all of us, but it is. It's like it's so uncomfortable and so necessary.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, and JD had an answer. I've often thought team sports and the obsession with team sports is at the root of this anti-intellectualism. That's a big claim.
I love that.
Okay.
I do. Yeah. Well, I'm not, as you know, I'm not a sport ball person. So.
You're a Minnesotan. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah. This is not the way, Eva. Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. My brother-in-law is coming to stay with us for the second time in the same month. We all get along so well. I can't tell if that's sarcasm or not. Maybe you're able to bridge the divide or compartmentalize or, yeah.
Tell him to leave his flag at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. No travel flag. Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a delightful conversation, a very heartwarming conversation. So thank you, Jenna.
So much. No, I love it. And I hope that anybody who's watching live or watching the replay feels a little bit more agency just from the discussion, and just any little thing that you do is a thing. It will have that butterfly effect ripple. So don't give up hope.
Yeah. And reaching out, saying hello, asking a question. I think even those little weak connections are how we get stronger ones, are how we get more. And again, nothing is wasted and everything is cumulative is what I started out with and what I'm going to finish with. So thank you, everybody.
I love it. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you. Happy Agitation August, everybody.
I will see you on Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Central with Brian of Bookish. We're talking about Empire of AI by Karen Howe. So that's going to be a fascinating discussion because all of us authors on YouTube have been talking about AI and screaming about it. So Brian is a booktuber as well as an author. And so yeah, AI talk. We're gonna let it rip. So thank you, everybody. Take care and happy reading. Bye.